10,000 fearless on the move.
Let's go. Deep in the delta where the willows grow, in the soil stained by the blood of my ancestors. Punch bowl voices call out to my soul for justice. The wicked will reap what they've sown. Spirit of Aziz is back on the rise. Soldiers in the delta kept it alive. Time to stand up, take our place in the sun. Understand the time and what must be done.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip.
Gotta make a move and take control. Have something we can call our own. So shine your light, help the people see that now is the time for us to be free. And if you waiting on the pie in the sky, you better wake up fast. They told you a lie, cause big fields await the wide awake man. Elijah's got the master.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. Injustice we've had enough. All of our divisions we're breaking up. Destiny has been calling us. The spirit of the Most High is guiding us.
See the time is now. What you waiting on? Quit shooting your brothers. Put your gun down. Come on. They got a cage waiting for you if you keep that up. Early graves coming to you. From that, can't raise you up. Now Sister Ida B and Fannie Lou, check them out and you'll know what to do. But if you really want your enemy to be alarmed, read the final call. Follow Farrakhan.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. 10K fearless on the move. In Mississippi. Mississippi. 10,000 fearless on the move.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum and peace be unto you, and welcome to yet another edition of the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. I am your brother, host, and friend, Abdul Shahid Muhammad. Please allow me to begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness to the oneness of Almighty God, the oneness of His prophets, and to the oneness of the scriptures that were revealed through them to the whole of humanity. I bear witness, and we bear witness, that there is but one God, regardless to the land, label, or language we choose to apply, because as spiritually mature people, we understand that God has been made known according to the language and the culture from amongst the people that He raised His prophets, messengers, and warners. Please allow me once again to greet you with the greeting words of peace in the Semitic language of Arabic that all of the prophets spoke, including Jesus, of Assalamu alaikum, which simply means may peace be unto you. Brothers and sisters, we are at it again with the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast, and we have an interesting show for you, an interesting program for you tonight. Our program tonight is entitled Juneteenth in Proper Perspective. That's Juneteenth in Proper Perspective. And I do think we need to keep Juneteenth in proper perspective, not get carried away with the holiday that has been made into, or the celebration, I should say, that has been made into a federal holiday as of 2021. So tonight we're going to explore this newly made holiday under the Biden administration, and we are going to look at the effect it is beginning to have on our people for the past or the third year. So we're in 2024. This is the third year of us recognizing Juneteenth as a federal holiday. It has been celebrated for quite some time, since the mid or around 1866. As early as that, Black people beginning in Texas have been commemorating this date, the 19th of June. So we're going to explore that tonight. But before we get started, of course, shouts out to all of those who are coming on. Thank you all for tuning in. It is always our prayer, brothers and sisters, that something will be said from this podcast and from this platform that will benefit us all in our spiritual growth and development, and to serve as guidance in these troubling times. Got a good announcement before the end of the program regarding the structure of this podcast. It has been augmented and updated, and I'll be sharing that information you before we get out of here this evening. But as we always do, we like to lay the groundwork for our podcast, and we like to share with our listening audience our axioms that we use to underpin our conversations that we have on this platform. And once again, we always like to define that word axiom. Axiom is a statement or proposition which is regarded as being established, accepted, or self-evidently true to serve as a premise or starting point for further reasoning and arguments. Okay? So I'll open with our first one. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gives us these words, quote, "He who gives you the diameter of your knowledge prescribes for you the circumference of your activity," end quote. That's very instructive. He gives us another one wherein he says, quote, "When you see men fall, don't laugh, learn." There's a lot of people falling today. There's a lot of scandal and a lot of people of note, celebrities who are having trouble and drama in their lives, and people are being scandalized, and people are falling from their positions, their lofty positions in the society as celebrities. And many people are making light of it or taking the opportunity to, in other words, kick the people as they fall and while they're down. But the Honorable Louis Farrakhan says to us, quote, "When you see men fall, don't laugh, learn. Learn because you're on your way up. And the things that tempt people to fall, you and I are not free from that temptation, nor from the weakness that will cause us to stumble and fall. When you laugh at someone else's fall or somebody else's fall," he says, "white or black, rich or poor, your enemy or your friend, you're laughing and opening a way for your own demise when you do that. Because to laugh and not learn, to make a mockery and not to understand, is to make the same mistake yourself," end quote. I'll give you one more from Carter G. Woodson, who wrote the book, The Miseducation of the Negro, wherein he wrote, quote, "When you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him to go here or yonder. He will find his proper place and will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there's not a back door, he will cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary." There you have it, brothers and sisters, the axioms to get us started for tonight. Once again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And, of course, we're going to move and take the next step in tonight's podcast and acknowledge those who are our supporters. So we always want to acknowledge those who support us and those who are our friends. That's right. We should always support and acknowledge those who are our friends. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back after these commercial announcements. And God said to Moses, "I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him." Every other house is abandoned.
on the street, with a homeless squat inside the filth, so in need. Brothers on the porch, hands in their pockets, looking up and down the street. They hustle to make ends meet.
Taste the difference. Taste Supreme. Enjoy our 100% natural Supreme spring water with natural calcium and magnesium, but zero fluoride and zero chloride. Our bottles are BPA free. Order yours today. Call us at 800-573-8033. That's 800-573-8033. Or visit us online at www.supremespringwater.com. Live supreme. Be supreme. Drink supreme. Supreme Spring Water, 801 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30314.
The Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. At Urban Indulgence, we pride ourselves on offering quality, effective skincare. Handcrafted with plant-based, skin-loving ingredients, our soaps and body butters will give you luxurious lather and ultimate moisture. Experience the Urban Indulgence at 3314 Poplar Avenue in Memphis, 3 blocks west of Poplar Plaza, or shop with us online at theurbanindulgence.com. theurbanindulgence.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Sheikh's Famous Seasonings. Flavors for every occasion. Want to add a touch of authentic flavor to any dish? Searching for a unique range of seasonings that always put great taste on the menu? Welcome to Sheikh's Famous Seasonings. Whether you're a professional chef, passionate home cook, or a complete beginner in the kitchen, taste and flavor should always be on the menu. It's why Master Chef Rashid Muhammad has combined more than 30 years in the kitchen with a passion for mouth-watering flavors to create a range of seasonings unlike any other. Always gluten-free, so you can enjoy great taste exactly how nature intended. Versatile flavors that work with fresh fish, chicken, or vegetables from the very first bite. Authentic cooking experience that adds something special to any occasion. Versatile seasonings that are perfect for baking, frying, grilling, and plenty of tasting. Ready for real, authentic flavor? When it's time to see just how delicious seasoned foods can be, why wait? With the click of a button, you can have 30 years of passion for food sent direct to your door. Just what you need to add flavors to every occasion and create meals that you'll always want to eat twice.
Place your order at sfseasonings.com. That's sfseasonings.com. What's your source for truth in news reporting?
Justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Where do you turn for non-corporate driven news that's fair and balanced?
No shoot. No shoot.
Subscribe to the Final Call News, your #1 free and independent news source that delivers hard-hitting national and international news coverage of today's political, economic, and social issues. To subscribe to local home delivery, call us at area code 662-252-8999. That's 662-252-8999. Visit our website at www.finalcall.com.
10,000 fearless on the move.
Yes, indeed. We are back live at the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. Once again, I am your host and friend, Abdul Shahid Muhammad, and we're going to be moving to the next phase of our program where we always invite onto the podcast our brother that makes sure that we put some food in the ground. He is a student in the Ministry of Agriculture and the project manager for our upcoming Hoop House project That is our brother William Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir. I'm listening for you, Brother William. I know you're there. Assalamu alaikum, Brother William. Okay, I got you. No, I'm having to do it this way, my brother. Okay, hold on. Because trying to bring you through the... There we go. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam.
How you doing this evening, my brother?
Fine, by the grace of Allah. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Well, you on deck. You shoot your shot, brother. You got the farm report. What you got for us today?
Getting ready to do some harvesting this coming Friday and Saturday, actually. I'm supposed to be bringing some produce up to Holly Springs this Sunday. So I'm going to have the believers to contact me to see what is it that they want me to get so I can bring it up to them. And this will be coming off of our state farm here in the state of Mississippi.
Excellent.
Also, Dr. Risley has said that the watermelons are tasting good on the national farm. So Muhammad Farms Day, actually, in July the 5th through the 7th, we had the opportunity to get some watermelons from over there and bring them here to distribute. Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. So we got the state farm popping and the national farm popping. Now, brother, you know, man, I remember, Brother William, you said you had some zucchini squash, right, that you're bringing up?
Yes, sir.
And some
Yes,
tomatoes, and what else?
It's supposed to be zucchini squash, tomatoes, yellow squash, green beans, and I think we may have some onions. They got a farmer's market they're going to be at tomorrow.
Okay.
So he's going to pick me some stuff. Actually, I'm supposed to get out there with him this Saturday. So I don't know if they're going to pick Saturday morning or are they going to wait till I get there Saturday evening. But I'll talk to him tomorrow to see. But either way, he said that he was going to try to have something up ready for Holly Springs, and we're trying to get it so that we can get something at least twice a month, like every 2 weeks.
Oh, praises are due to Allah. Y'all hear that? Brothers and sisters, we got it. We got it. We got it in Holly Springs. Now, you better come on because, the believers in Holly Springs going to get first dibs on that. So, brother will be bringing some produce up this Sunday, and they will be available immediately following our regularly scheduled Sunday meeting that begins at 10 o'clock a.m. The doors open at 9, so those of you who are listening, come visit with us at 165 North Memphis Street, Holly Springs, Mississippi Study Group 78A. And immediately following, we will have those produce available. Brother, I want some of everything. I know with my wife, and I'm surprised she hadn't come in here and said, look, tell them to bring us all. So, so brother, we would like some of what you have. We have believers that are on and guests that are on the podcast tonight listening. If you want to know more, Brother William, I had a response. I put out the word that we're looking for helpers who are serious. And I essentially echoed what you said, because it's not what I said, it's actually what you said, brother, when you said we're looking for helpers that are serious with regard to the ground that we just broke on there in Holly Springs on the lot that Brother Davey Muhammad, we can shout out to Brother Davey. Big hand clap to Brother Davey. He and his wife, Sister Crystal, they own some land there, and they are allowing us to turn it over. And our brother James, he drove that tractor all the way up from Stocksville, brother, and turned that soil over. So now it's time to put the hoop house, or the high tunnel as it's called. I hear the word high tunnel used more down in Mississippi on that land, brother. But anyway, so the young sister responded. She hit me. She's in Memphis, and she wants to get involved and wants to know how. So I told her to tune in tonight, and she will hear from the project manager. That's what I've dubbed you, brother. You're the project manager for yourself, and along with Brother Davey, the landowner of the Hoop House Project. So what can you share with those who are listening that want to get involved with regard to the Hoop House?
Well, if anybody wants to get involved, you can contact me directly, and my number is 662-425-2646. That's 662-425-2646. And we're looking for people who are interested in getting involved in the agricultural process that we trying to get started here in Holly Springs. And I'm hoping to hear from as many people as possible that want to actually do this.
Praise be to Allah. Y'all heard it. Now, don't call me now. Call Brother William. He is the project manager. He is the student in the Ministry of Agriculture. He has picked up that mantle and that banner, and brother is carrying it well. Thank you so much, Brother William. Anything else before we part ways, sir?
Oh, yes, sir. The brother did say we're going to try to get some cucumbers to bring up as well. And also on the staple goods project, I was on a conference call this past Tuesday night, and it looks like they will have all of the products in hopefully no later than Tuesday. And if they get it in by Tuesday of next week, then they're going to start shipping, the staple goods out. And according to how they're going to do it is based on when they receive the money. And Holly Springs was number 2 on the list.
Praise.
So if everything goes well, it's a good possibility that they may ship our goods out next week.
Praise be to Allah. Man, Brother William, thank you so much. Keeping us informed on what's happening on the state, on the local. Now, did y'all get that? Brother gave a local report for food we're growing. Brother gave a state report for food that we are growing. And our brother gave a national report for food that we are growing. Now, that deserves a well-deserved round of applause, Brother William. Thank you so much, brother. May Allah continue to bless you and make you successful as you have taken up the most difficult part. I shouldn't say that, but it's one of the most difficult parts of this mission is getting black people to grow their own food and get our mouths out of our enemy's kitchen. So, brother, thank you so much. God willing, we'll talk again next week.
Yes, sir. You're welcome, man. Thank you for having me.
All right now, my brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, sir. Alaikum salam, sir.
That was our dear brother and friend, Brother William Muhammad, with the Farm Report. And I'm very, very appreciative. Sister Nadia is the sister that contacted us, and she just said, let me read her response to what you just said, Brother William. She just hit me again. This young sister, she wants to be involved. She said, okay, great. I do have some plants, but I know they need to be planted pretty soon, and we may need some trellises for the tomatoes. So we getting responses, brothers and sisters. So I want to put that sister in touch with the Mighty MGT to get involved in the local garden or the local hoop house that we're putting up there in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Man, I'm excited about that. I don't know about y'all, but that's the kind of thing that gets me excited to see something concrete, a concrete manifestation and a material manifestation of the wisdom that we are taught. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been telling us and trying to encourage us and implore us for quite some time now to start gardening wherever we are. In your backyard, grow some food, because as America begins to close down and unravel, food prices and the availability of food will become a challenge. And we already, as black people, many of us are living in food deserts. So, brothers and sisters, it would behoove us to get involved as best we can on whatever level we can in the food growing process. So praises be to Allah. Thank you, Brother William. So now, I said I had an announcement with regard to the podcast. We have upgraded, brothers and sisters. We have, what do you mean, Brother Shaheed, you're upgraded? We are now a network, and we are going to be branding our network, and the name of our network is the Light, Life, and Power Network. Acronym, the LLP Network. Light, Life, and Power, because in the words and teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, there is light, there is life, and there is power. So we dubbed this network of ours the Light, Life, and Power Network. So what do you mean? It's a network? What that means simply is under the umbrella of the Light, Life, and Power Network, we have the ability to establish channels, as many channels as we desire under that banner. So that means people and others, particularly the believing community, can come under our umbrella and have their own podcast that's separate and apart from the 10K Fearless. They can name it, put their own logo, and be a part of the Light, Life, and Power Network. So the first channel, of course, is this channel. The 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast channel is what you're listening to now. The second channel that is going to be coming online beginning next Wednesday, they will be podcasting Wednesdays and Thursdays from 5 till 6 p.m., is the SOS Saving Ourselves podcast. Yes, our brother Timothy X, who is part of the Whitehaven Study Group, he is the host, and Brother Timothy will be on from 5 till 6 p.m., and it is entitled the SOS Saving Ourselves podcast. Look for it now, and we're going to launch Brother Timothy, and there will be others. One of our brothers down in Boonville, Mississippi, who is a real estate broker, Brother Quentin X, he is going to be doing a real estate podcast to inform our people on the house buying process and everything to do with real estate. And of course, you hear one of our commercial jingles, the Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. Well, I have a sister that lives with me. She happens to be my wife. So she has expressed an interest. It has not been concretized yet, but she has expressed an interest in establishing a podcast under the Light, Life, and Power Network umbrella. So there you have it, brothers and sisters. We trying to stay. Look, you know how we do it. 10K Fearless. Yeah, we're on the move, at least by the grace of Allah and with the help of Allah, we are trying to stay on the move. So, brothers and sisters, tonight's program, it's 27 minutes after the hour. We like to get started on the main part of our presentation or our podcast right at about 7:30, and it's right about that time. It is 7:27 p.m. Central Standard Time. The weather across the country, man, is either hot or on fire or windy and wet because the tropical storm is coming up through the Gulf. We have sweltering temperatures across the country, dangerously hot temperatures according to the National Weather Service. And in California, they have so many acreages of land on fire, and it's only, last I heard, is about 5% contained. So brothers and sisters, be careful with this heat, and make sure you are adequately hydrated and do what you need to do to take care of yourselves. Of course, you heard the jingles. Make sure, Marshall County, we need about 1,000 of you to subscribe to the Final Call. And we have a project coming out of Muhammad Study Group 78A where we will be soliciting you in a very direct way to become a weekly subscriber to the Final Call News. You can still give us a call at 662-252-8999 if you want to deliver it to your door. And we're going to, I'm not going to let the cat all the way out the bag, but we got something coming up with that Final Call newspaper because that is the #1 minister, second only to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam, because that newspaper, and it is a newspaper, it's not corporate driven, so we are not beholden to any corporation withdrawing their funds because we print the truth. Our corporation and our funds and our bank is the hearts of the people. So we encourage you to subscribe to that Final Call. I just gave the number once again, 662-252-8999. Email us if you want to be a part of the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast family. Now, the Life and Power Network family, email me at dremuhammad1@gmail.com. You can drop us a line at P.O. Box 517, Holly Springs, Mississippi, 38635. We have that beautiful and gorgeous Supreme Bean Pie available for a charitable donation. You can get it at 165 North Memphis Street, and we have those 2-pound bags of whiting fish fillet. You know you still eat fish every Friday. It's kind of a tradition with black folk. Yeah, I did say black folk. You know we eat fish every Friday. So if you're going to eat fish, come by from your brother and make a donation that will go towards the continuing advancement of the Holly Springs, Mississippi Study Group. Okay, got all of that out of the way. I'm going to send some shout-outs afterwards, though. Got the farm report done. And tonight, we're going to dig into and explore how do we view and characterize Juneteenth. And for the listening audience, please feel free I will be checking. You can comment. Feel free. If you got the app, you can call in or come up. You know the 8 circles. If you've logged into the Podbean app, you can tap one of those circles if you want to come in and comment and share your thoughts on the questions that I am asking now. How do we view and characterize Juneteenth? Should we call it a celebration of freedom? Why was Juneteenth even made a federal holiday in 2021? Again, please feel free to call in or post your thoughts on the live comment section of the Podbean app, and I will respond. So I'm monitoring that. I want to begin first with something that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us and to the believers of the nation. Well, actually, it came by way of a letter to his ministry class, actually, now that I think about it. I think it was dated April 2nd, 1936. And in that letter to his student ministers or his ministry class, he said, quote, "First, history above all our studies is most attractive and best qualified to reward our research, as it develops the springs and motives of human actions and displays the consequence of circumstances which operates most powerfully on the destiny of the human being." That's a powerful quote from him, because history is something that is an absolute necessity for a people to be guided into their future. In fact, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, said, "He who does not have a knowledge of their history or his or her history is like a tree without roots. And a tree without roots is a dead tree." And we remember, if you remember Mr. Pat Buchanan, he wrote a book entitled "The Death of the West," as he was lamenting the erosion of the memory of America's history, because people were finding out and unearthing the fact that most of what America calls history is a false, whitewashed version of history. So in his book, he asked the question, how do you destroy a people? You destroy their memory. In other words, you destroy their history. So across all lines, it is agreed that history is very, very important. So I start with that from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I brought a few other people to bear witness. Even when you look at the Bible is a book of scripture that has in it prophecy that foretells things to come from the Genesis or the beginning of this world system to its end. But also in the Bible is history. And the history is there to give you a picture or a sign of what the fulfillment of the history of the prophecy, is to look like. But my point is there's history there, okay, of people and nations that existed before us and how they responded to the warning of God coming through his prophets that were raised from among those people and nations that had deviated away from the straight path of God. And before God punishes, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, before he punishes, he always raises up a warner with what is called divine guidance to guide the people back to his straight path and to warn them of his looming chastisement if they don't get it together. So what is Juneteenth? We're fixing to do a little history, you all, because what inspired tonight's podcast, and let me look and make sure nobody put some comments in there and want to say something. Nobody's called in. I don't see anybody in the queue. So let me go back over to my text here. I made a comment online, something to the effect, I don't have it in front of me. I said, stop romanticizing this day. People were romanticizing Juneteenth yesterday. Romanticizing meaning they was making the day out to be more than what it actually represents. And this is not to kill the spirit or to throw shade on the celebration. Yes, it should be commemorated, but we have to keep things, it would be wise for us to keep it in its proper perspective. I am not of the mind that we should refer, and I continued in my post, to Juneteenth as Freedom Day. because emancipation is not freedom. I said Juneteenth is not Freedom Day, nor is emancipation. And then I said, knock it off, meaning knock off this talk about we're celebrating Freedom Day, dear brothers and sisters. And this is not to be mean-spirited, please. I'm doing this from a heart of love and concern, because God willing, what I will share with you will speak into or bear witness to what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad has said about history. Because history, he said, it develops the springs and motives of human action. What is the motive behind making Juneteenth a federal holiday? We want to get into that. So before we go there, what is Juneteenth? I know there are many out there that know. It may be a few that don't. So I'm going to share with you what some of the historians have said. They said that Juneteenth, of course, is a significant date in American history and in the African-American experience, as they said it. They said the name is a play on the date of June 19th, 1865. It's a cross between the month June and the number 19th. So it's called Juneteenth. On that day in 1865, the Union Army made its way to Galveston, Texas, under the leadership of one General Gordon Granger. And he announced to the people of Galveston in Texas that all enslaved Africans, Americans, that's what they put. He said all enslaved Negroes, really should be there because that's what we were called then, were emancipated, but they put the word free. The two words are not the same. We'll get into that in a second. Even though we know that the Emancipation Proclamation emancipated, not freed, the Negroes, they say African Americans, and the Negroes in the rebelling states are the Negroes that were freed, meaning all the states wasn't in rebellion. Texas was one of the states that was in rebellion to the Union. So they freed the slaves in all of the southern states. So the proclamation went into effect January 1st, 1863. But the people of Texas and other places throughout the South didn't find out until the year 1865. The Civil War had ended. And we should know the Civil War ended in April of 1865, but it took a while for knowledge of black people or slaves or Negroes being emancipated to make its way to the western and most rebellious states. And although there were enslavers who were aware of the implementation of the Emancipation Proclamation, it wasn't until June 19th, 1865 that it was actually enforced by the Union Army. Now let's put this in context. See, this General Gordon Granger, he didn't show up by himself saying, look, the slave's free. He had backup. He had an army. He was enforcing the law that had been passed by Mr. Lincoln. Federal troops had to be put in the South to enforce it. Don't subscribe to this notion that the slave-owning states in the South just happily gave up their generation's practice and profit of slaving. They were not happy about the Emancipation Proclamation. That was an invasion on their way of life as they saw it. It was grounds for war. Yeah. So these were the rebelling states. But today, let's fast forward. Well, before we fast forward, when black people heard it, of course, you mean I don't have to be on a plantation? You mean I'm gonna have to be paid for my work, my labor? What they were paid was nothing to speak of. But they started things, and I give you the time frame that they began to put things in place that literally put us back in a condition of being enslaved, even though the emancipation was the law. Okay? So let me get into this. But before I go there, I want to read something to you from our brother Frederick Douglass. It's It's from his book, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. He wrote the book in 1845. And on pages 73 through 77, I want to read something to put in context holidays. Because, see, they done made Juneteenth a federal holiday. And you need to pay attention to the timing of the making of this federal holiday. They admit readily it was in the wake of the murder that was seen around the world in real time and in live and living color as Officer Chauvin rested his knee on the neck of George Floyd and murdered that brother in real time on live TV. In the wake of that, Juneteenth was made a federal holiday. So hold that thought and listen to what Brother Frederick Douglass says. He says, the days between Christmas and New Year's Day are allowed as holidays, and accordingly, we were not required to perform any labor, more than to feed and take care of the stock. This time we regard it as our own by the grace of our masters, and we therefore used or abused it nearly as we pleased. Those of us who had families at a distance were generally allowed to spend the whole 6 days in their society. This time, however, was spent in various ways. The staid, sober, thinking, and industrious ones of our number would employ themselves in making corn brooms, mats, horse collars, and baskets, and another class of us would spend the time in hunting possums, hares, and coons. But by far, the larger part, meaning the larger part of black people during this time that they had off, engaged in such sports and merriments as playing ball, wrestling, running foot races, fiddling, dancing, and drinking whiskey. And the latter mode of spending the time was by far the most agreeable to the feelings of our masters. A slave who would work during the holidays was considered by our masters as scarcely deserving them. He was regarded as one who rejected the favor of his master. It was deemed a disgrace not to get drunk at Christmas, and he was regarded as lazy indeed who had not provided himself with the necessary means during the year to get whiskey enough to last him through Christmas. For what I know of the effect of these holidays upon the slave, I believe them to be among the most effective means in the hands of the slaveholder in keeping down the spirit of insurrection. Were the slaveholders at once to abandon this practice, I have not the slightest doubt it would lead to an immediate insurrection among the slaves. These holidays serve as conductors or safety valves to carry off the rebellious spirit of enslaved humanity. But for these, the slave would be forced up to the wildest desperation, and woe betide the slaveholder the day he ventures to remove or hinder the operation of those conductors. Pause right there. Now think about what he's saying. Holidays was a tactic, and the merriment of holidays, the drinking, the dancing, the partying, was a tactic in the hands of the slave master to counter the spirit of rebellion and uprisal. Now think of what he's saying in the context of 2024 or 2021 when Mr. Biden made Juneteenth a federal holiday. It was right in the wake of a spirit of uprisal at the grotesqueness of the murder of George Floyd on live television. Ain't that something? This is why I'm saying, family, we have to keep these things in their proper context. Because I would venture to say, as the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, history, it develops the springs and motives of human action. Let's continue. Mr. Lincoln says, I warn him, meaning the slave master, in such an event, a spirit will go forth in their midst, more to be dreaded than the most appalling earthquake. What he's saying is, if the slave master stop allowing his slave to have these holidays, he gonna see an uprising that's worse than the worst earthquake than he can think of. Brother Frederick Douglass continues. He says the holidays are part and parcel. I'm gonna say that again. The holidays are part and parcel of the gross fraud, wrong, and inhumanity of slavery. They are professedly a custom established by the benevolence of the slaveholders. But I undertake to say it is the result of selfishness and one of the grossest frauds committed upon the downtrodden slave. They do not give the slaves this time because they would not like to have their work during its continuance, but because they know it would be unsafe to deprive them of it, end quote. That's what Brother Frederick Douglass thought about the Christmas holidays. And he has another speech entitled, What is the 4th of July to the Slave? Where he is saying that he's saying 4th of July is meaningless to the slave because it's celebrating another man's freedom while we were not free. But if you know something about what happened July 4th of 1930, you would understand the true meaning in this modern time, or I should say the true significance of July 4th for black people in America. If you should go to your local or nearest mosque or study group and just ask one of the believers, or more specifically the student minister, what was he talking about July 4th, 1930 and its significance for black people today? And any student minister or even regular believer be happy to tell you how the 4th of July, 1930 is important to black people. So that's what our brother Frederick Douglass had to say. So let me check the panel, see if anybody is okay. All right, everybody's still quiet. I guess y'all listening. I mean, I got a pretty good audience here too. Thank everybody for tuning in. We are discussing Juneteenth in proper perspective. And we've given a little history and we've talked about what our brother Frederick Douglass, for those that are just tuning in, had to say about the Christmas holidays and holidays in general. And I think it's very instructive. Now, a question for the audience. Have you ever read the Emancipation Proclamation? I mean, have you ever just sat down and read it? Because I have it right in front of me. It's not long, okay? Because reading is the thing that slaveholders most feared. It was the most feared activity to see the slave engaged in. That's where the saying came, if you want to hide anything from a Negro, you put it in a book. Because we'd have made it unlawful for them to read. And black people risked their lives and faced death to accomplish learning to read. Nowadays, we won't read to save our life. Many of us. That's unfortunate, but that's real. But let's look at the Emancipation Proclamation real quick. And the dates we're dealing with is from 1863 to 1877. I'm going to give us a peek in history. History is best qualified now. So listen, we're going to come up to 2024 before the program is over, all right? I promise. God willing, God willing. Now listen at this Emancipation Proclamation. Emancipation Proclamation dealt with these specific states. Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Those were the states that were insurrection against the Union. President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, as we stated, January 1, 1863, as the nation approached its third year of a bloody civil war. The proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states, listen, within the rebellious state, are henceforward shall be free. They should have put emancipated. The Emancipation Proclamation outraged white Southerners who envisioned a race war, angered some Northern Democrats, energized anti-slavery forces, and undermined forces in Europe that wanted to intervene and help the Confederacy. That's a tad bit of history I bet you many of us didn't know. Hearing of the proclamation, more slaves quickly escaped to the Union lines as the Army units moved south. Whose side do you think the slave gonna take if there's a possibility of him being emancipated? He's gonna defect. I'm going to fight for the Union. Why? Because the Union said us is gonna be free. It's a no-brainer. As the Union armies advanced through the Confederacy, thousands of slaves were freed each day until nearly all, approximately 4 million, they say, according to the 1860 census, were freed by July 1865, while the proclamation had freed most slaves as a war measure. You hear that? It was done as a war measure. It had not made slavery illegal. It wasn't until December of 1865 that the ratification of the 13th Amendment made slavery and indentured servitude, except for those duly convicted of a crime, illegal everywhere subject to the United States jurisdiction. Now let's read this proclamation. Listen at what Mr. Lincoln wrote. Mr. Lincoln said, "Now therefore, I, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States, by virtue of the power in me vested as Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States in time of actual armed rebellion against the authority and government of the United States, and as a fit and necessary war measure for suppressing said rebellion, due on this first day of January A.D. 1863, and in accordance with my purpose to do so, publicly proclaimed for the full period of 100 days from the first day above mentioned, order and designate as the states and parts of states wherein the people thereof respectively are this day in rebellion against the United States, the following to wit: Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, except the parishes of St. Bernard, Palcuminez, Jefferson, St. John, St. Charles, St. James, Ascension, Assumption, Terrebonne, Lafourche, St. Mary, St. Martin, and Orleans, including the city of New Orleans, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, except, where Virginia is concerned, except the 48 counties designated as West Virginia, and also the counties of Berkeley, Accomack, Northampton, Elizabeth City, York, Princess Anne, and Norfolk, including the cities of Norfolk and Portsmouth, and which accepted parts are for the present day precisely as if this proclamation were not issued." Mr. Lincoln continues saying, and by virtue of the power and for the purpose aforesaid, I do order and declare that all persons held as slaves within said designated states and parts of states are and henceforward shall be free, and that the executive government of the United States, including the military and naval authorities thereof, will recognize and maintain the freedom of said persons. And I hereby enjoin upon the people so declared to be free to abstain from all violence unless in necessary self-defense. And I recommend to them that in all case, when allowed, they labor faithfully for reasonable wages. Now, that's what Mr. Lincoln said. So, the Emancipation Proclamation was done as a war measure, and it was directed at specific states. So a war was going on. And Mr. Lincoln was not necessarily interested. Matter of fact, I wouldn't say necessarily, he was not interested in the plight of black people. Mr. Lincoln was concerned with the plight of the Union. So in other words, if freeing the slaves would save the Union, that's what he did. If keeping black people enslaved would have saved the Union, that's the choice he would have made. But he saw saving the Union, meaning the budding United States, meant he had to free the slaves because he felt that it was a detriment to the development of the Union. Now, 60 black towns or more were established from 1865 to 1877. Now, there's something else you should know about Mr. Lincoln. All right? Everybody all right? I hope everybody all right. Mr. Lincoln wasn't interested in freeing the slave. What was his motive? Because history, it develops the springs and motives of human action. Well, according to a debate that Mr. Lincoln had in 1858, it was a series of debates that he had in Illinois. You know, the race for the U.S. Senate, his opponent was a man named Stephen Douglas. He accused Mr. Lincoln of wanting Negro equality. But history records that Lincoln did not believe black people should have the same rights as white people. That was Mr. Lincoln's belief. He believed slavery was immoral based on the fact that the founding fathers put the phrase, all men are created equal. He believed that applied to black and white people alike. But it didn't mean that black people should have the same social and political rights as white people. That was Mr. Lincoln's belief. His views were made even clearer during that series of debates, where he is quoting as saying, oh, where's my quote? Miss my quote. Lord, what happened to my quote? Oh, Lord, have mercy. I must have inadvertently erased my quote. I wanted to quote Mr. Lincoln, but Mr. Lincoln did not believe, from my memory and paraphrasing of the quote, and you can fact check me, please do, please fact check me. Mr. Lincoln did not believe that black people should hold political offices and all of the things that pertained to running the United States government. Mr. Lincoln didn't believe that. Mr. Lincoln's desire was to colonize black people into Liberia. He was like, we done with you all, y'all can leave. So that's why I don't want to understand where all this love comes from for Mr. Lincoln from black people. We appreciate the fact that you saw that morally slavery was wrong and that all men are created applied to us too. But in the same breath, Mr. Lincoln, you did not think that we deserved equal rights with white people. Not mad at you. He said, y'all need to go start your own thing. Go to Liberia. We'll send you out with weapons, seeds, and livestock to go do your own thing. I agree with Mr. Lincoln. That's good. So when we look at Juneteenth in the context of the historical data that we just presented, should we be celebrating Juneteenth as Freedom Day? Somebody type in something, and it's yes, no, maybe. What are your thoughts? Oh, people are typing too, boy. No. History is best qualified to reward our research. Yes, it is. It's the top of the hour. In a couple of seconds, I'm going to take a break. But let me give you a little bit more, because we need to get to what happened. Because once black people were emancipated, brothers and sisters, go and check the history. Between 1865 and 1877, over 60 black-owned, run, and operated townships were developed. Let me name some of them. Fort Mose, Florida. It was founded in 1738. Yeah. Rosewood, Florida. They made a movie about that one. It was established in 1870. And it was one of the worst, it was the site of one of the worst race riots in U.S. history. By 1915, it was a small, predominantly black town with a population of just more than 300. And on New Year's Day in 1923, a young white woman claimed that a black man sexually assaulted her, and Rosewood was destroyed by a band of white men searching for the alleged suspect. Sound a lot like Tulsa. But here's the list of those small towns, some of them. Seneca Village, New York. 5 Point District, New York. Weeksville, New York. Greenwood, Oklahoma. Freedman's Village, Virginia. Allensworth, California. Freedmanstown, Texas. Davis Bend, Mississippi. Muckinac, Iowa. Buxton, Iowa. New Philadelphia, Illinois. Pin Oak Colony, Illinois. Blackdom, New Mexico. Those were some of the cities that were established by black people. In fact, there was a city during the Civil Rights era, particularly during the Emmett Till trial in Mississippi up to 1955, that was black-owned, operated, and run. And in fact, the jurors that were under threat of violence from white people that were testifying in the Emmett Till trial had nowhere safe to go. So they went to this small black town in Mississippi that still exists in 2024 because it was all black mayor. It was such a progressive town. It was called the Diamond of the Delta. The name of that city is Mound Bayou, Mississippi. It's not far from Holly Springs. And the interesting thing about Mound Bayou in history, it had all of the amenities of any city of that time. But the one thing that it did not have was a jail, because black people wasn't committing crimes against each other the way we see today. So there was no need to lock anybody up because we understood who our adversaries were. But today we are confused as I don't know what. I hope you all are taking this in. I really, really hope you're taking it in. But here's what's fixing to happen. I'm going to have to take my usual break, okay? We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to go with the second half of the program. Y'all stay there now. We got some good history to help us see today in its proper context and look at Juneteenth the way it really, really should be looked at. We'll be right back.
Chilling in the studio, taking over the world. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. I come in peace, I don't mean you no harm. I say assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. I come in peace, I don't mean you know, I don't mean you know. See, I come in peace, ain't nobody I am hurting except my enemies, but for my brothers I am working. Cause the powers that be wanna see, that's why they're lurking. We're both making our peace, but different food we are serving. See, mine is for the fork, adding substance to the fork, and yours is for the...
The Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. At Urban Indulgence, we pride ourselves on offering quality, effective skincare. Handcrafted with plant-based, skin-loving ingredients, our soaps and body butters will give you luxurious lather and ultimate moisture. Experience the Urban Indulgence at 3314 Poplar Avenue in Memphis, 3 blocks west of Poplar Plaza, or shop with us online at theurbanindulgence.com. theurbanindulgence.com.
Taste the difference. Taste
Supreme. Enjoy our 100% natural Supreme spring water with natural calcium and magnesium, but zero fluoride and zero chloride. Our bottles are BPA free. Order yours today. Call us at 800-573-8033. That's 800-573-8033. Or visit us online at www.supremespringwater.com. Live supreme. Be supreme. Drink supreme. Supreme Spring Water. 801 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30314.
Shake's famous seasonings, flavors for every occasion. Want to add a touch of authentic flavor to any dish? Searching for a unique range of seasonings that always put great taste on the menu? Welcome to Shake's famous seasonings. Whether you're a professional chef, passionate home cook, or a complete beginner in the kitchen, taste and flavor should always be on the menu. It's why Master Chef Rashid Muhammad has combined more than 30 years in the kitchen with a passion for mouth-watering flavors to create a range of seasonings unlike any other. Always gluten-free, so you can enjoy great taste exactly how nature intended. Versatile flavors that work with fresh fish, chicken, or vegetables from the very first bite. Authentic cooking experience that adds something special to any occasion. Versatile seasonings that are perfect for baking, frying, grilling, and plenty of tasting. Ready for real authentic flavor? When it's time to see just how delicious seasoned foods can be, why wait? With the click of a button, you can have 30 years of passion for food sent direct to your door. Just what you need to add flavors to every occasion and create meals that you'll always want to eat twice.
Place your order at sfseasonings.com. That's sfseasonings.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
What's your source for truth in news reports?
Justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Where do you turn for non-corporate driven news that's fair and balanced?
No shoot. No shoot.
Subscribe to the Final Call News, your #1 free and independent news source that delivers hard-hitting national and international news coverage of today's political, economic, and social issues. To subscribe to local home delivery, call us at area code 662-252-8999. That's 662-252-8999. Visit our website at www.finalcall.com. 10,000 fearless on the move.
Yes, indeed. We are back live at the 10K Fearless Tri-State Podcast. Once again, I am your brother, host, and friend, Abdul Shaheed Muhammad. Let us continue. Make sure you support those who are supporting us. Supreme Spring Water. You heard it. Be supreme. Drink supreme. Supreme Spring Water. Support the Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique located at 3314 Poplar Avenue right here in the city of Memphis. Or go to the website online, theurbanindulgence.com. Make sure you support Shake Seasonings, fsseasonings.com. Place your order. It'll be delivered right to your door. And, of course, make sure you download Final Call Radio to your smartphone and listen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to messages from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And, of course, subscribe to that Final Call newspaper. Make sure you get the digital edition, and you can have that delivered right to your desktop. Hey, we got somebody on the line that wanted to call in. Assalamu alaikum. You there? Is that you, Brother William?
Yes, sir. Rex Farm. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're very, very low, but I can hear the audience. You know, Mike can hear you a little bit, but you're real low, brother, if you're on your phone.
Okay, what about now? Can you hear me better now?
It's pretty much the same, my brother. Okay. Are you on an Apple or an Android? iPhone or Android? Android. You may want to try an iPhone. That'll bring your volume all the way. I don't know. It's some function. I'm not that familiar, dear brother, with the Android, but I know the iPhone. People that call in through the switchboard with the iPhone, man, they sound like they're sitting in here with me. So I don't know if it's an adjustment that you have to make with the iPhone or what it is that has to be done. I'm not sure.
Okay, yes, sir.
But go ahead, brother. Go ahead, man. I can hear you. What I'll do is when I post the replay, I can bring your volume up in the post-production process, okay?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, my brother.
Okay, I was trying to check my volume to see if I could come in a little louder. That's what I was doing just now.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it helped or not. Yes, sir. Okay, yes, sir. But there were a few things that I was thinking about while you was talking about President Lincoln.
Yes, sir.
And, yes, sir. Right, and I know you mentioned that Douglas, briefly the Lincoln-Douglas debate, and many of our people think that Abraham Lincoln loved black people. That's the reason why he freed the slaves. But if I recall correctly, in the Lincoln-Douglas debate, Lincoln clearly said that if he had a position, he would favor that the white man be in a superior position over the black man.
Yes, sir. That is correct. And if you have something in the room playing with you, and it's echoing, so you may want to move that out of the room. So there we go. So I'm not hearing it anymore. But you are absolutely correct, brother. Mr. Lincoln did say that. If there were if he had to choose between positions in word, he would rather whites be in the superior and blacks be in the inferior. So this notion that Lincoln had a bleeding heart for black people is just not historically accurate. It's simply not the truth.
Yes, sir. That echoing was my wife came in and she said that she couldn't even hear me. So I'm gonna call in from her phone to see. She has an iPhone. So
great, do that, brother, and you can repeat what you said for our listening audience. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Praise be to Allah. We're gonna get our brother William back in here. See how he called in. Those who are listening, if you are so inclined, please feel free. Don't be shy. Somebody gave that's my brother Najee. He said, say that. That's right, brother Najee. That's the truth. Get some shout outs to those who've tuned in. And my brother Najee, brother Keith, brother William, of course. My sister Marissa is on. Sister Bree, my wife, ever present. She's on. Oh, I see my brother Kenneth is on tonight. Thank you for tuning in. My sister Audrey, brother L, I think that's brother Laren Muhammad is on. And that's on my switchboard. And I got about 20 more people online, and I can't see their names. Only those who come. Okay, I see Brother William coming back in here on his wife's phone. We'll see if we can get him on in and see what happens this time. There it is. You there, Brother William?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Man, now it sounds like that's where it's supposed to sound, brother. I don't know what it is between Android and the iPhone, but go ahead, my brother, please.
Yes, sir. So since everybody can hear me, I was just mentioning when I heard you mention Lincoln and Douglas, and I mentioned about the debate, the Lincoln-Douglas debate. And part of that debate, I remember reading that Lincoln said that something to the effect of, if it was his choice, he would prefer that the superior position be given to the white man and not the black man.
Mm-hmm. That
Yes,
is
sir.
a historical fact. So people need to understand that this bleeding heart that they want to portray, that Mr. Lincoln had, and he should be honored and all of this kind of thing, is simply not, it's not the case. He did respect the fact that and believe that all men are created equal, according to historians at least. He believed that applied to black people too. Okay? He believed that, and that's cool. But he did not believe that black people should hold the same social, political, and economic status as white people. Mm-hmm. So
Yes, sir.
when you get to that part, brother, that's the racism we're dealing with today. You know, and
Yes,
it
sir.
reminds me of something a older sister said to me once. She said, "Baby, white people don't mind you doing well, son. They just they just have a problem when you're doing better than them." That's
Yes,
interesting.
sir.
And that
Yes, sir, it
observation has
is.
held true. When they see a black man doing better, I remember being stopped by in just a few weeks, a couple of months ago. I was pulled over by a Mississippi State trooper. He didn't give me a ticket, but I found it interesting. He made this comment, brother. He said, "Man, that's a nice truck." I said, "Mm-hmm." In other words, what I felt under the way he said it was, "Nigga, what you doing with this kind of truck?"
Yes, sir.
And I'm telling you, brother, see, brothers and sisters don't want to deal with that. They don't want to acknowledge that reality, but many of them think that way. And Honorable Louis Farrakhan says there are a lot of people, white people, that want to do good until you show them what good is. So, you know, those are realities that we got to deal with, brother. So this thing about Juneteenth and it being Freedom Day and all of this, when you look at what's going on, brother, and I'm going to get to this before we get out of here. We got about 14 minutes left. I want to get to some articles that speak to 2024 that are indicators that the attitudes that existed at emancipation, that existed when they destroyed the 60 towns that we established, the Rosewoods, the Tulsa, Oklahoma, the cities that they flooded underwater, the cities that they built highways through that were black towns and communities, that they gentrified and eminent domain claim. You know, they want to talk about celebrating and making it a national holiday. How about the millions of acres that have been stolen from black people in the South, especially in Mississippi?
Yes, sir.
That's one of the things in the battles that our brother Alfred Skip Robinson, who later became Abdulaziz Muhammad, was fighting. And I'd venture to say to this very day, that's why there's a hush that comes in North Mississippi in particular, but anywhere in Mississippi, when the name Skip Robinson is mentioned, it's like, shh, 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 don't say that. Because our brother was fighting the good fight. You know, so... Got anything else for us, Brother William? I'm going to move to this. And if you want to hang on, brother, just stay right there. And I'll just mute you. I've muted him, you all. And I want to get to today's time. But before I get there, I have to give you what happened in 1877 and what happened to these towns. Because remember, emancipation, they had to enforce it. So the federal troops came down with that general to enforce the law. See, I remember there's a songwriter. Her name is Michelle Indeghiocello. She said, just because civil rights is law does not mean we all abide. You know, meaning just because you got some laws on the book, that don't mean everybody going to abide by the law. So, yeah, that was the law of the Emancipation Proclamation. But how did they get around it? The presidential election of 1876 is very, very pivotal in American history because there was a dispute over who won it. And the dispute was between the governor of New York, who was Democratic. His name was Samuel Tilden. And the Republican candidate was a Rutherford Hayes. And it was that presidential election that was hotly contested. There was controversy over the votes coming out of Florida. Interestingly enough, Florida was the place where there was what they thought was some improprieties happening with the votes. So long story short, and I got a lot of writing here, and for the sake of time, I'm going to go on and get through it. In the election results shows Democrat Samuel Tilden and Rutherford B. Hayes, they were only separated by 20 disputed electoral votes that came from southern states. And a bipartisan commission was formed to decide the dispute. They handed all of the disputed votes to Hayes and made Hayes the winner. And that decision, the Democrats didn't like it. Because remember, y'all, the Democrats was pro-slavery, the Dixiecrats. You know, to this day, we are loyal to the party that wanted to keep us enslaved. Ain't that a kick in the head for some of us? There are many black people that are enlightened and know that. That's why a lot of brothers and sisters are switching over to the Republican Party, but they would know better. You know, snake in the grass, snake on the sidewalk. One you can see, one you can't see. Both of them a snake, though. Please, got a problem with the crude characterization, but that's what it's been like for us. You get bit either way. But Congress settled the dispute, allowing Hayes to become the president if some key concessions were made. And those concessions were most crucial. And the most crucial ones was the removal of the federal troops out of the South who were enforcing the Emancipation Proclamation. So when they removed those federal troops, the night rioters start. The Klan rose up. The convict leasing system got ramped up. Because although the Emancipation Proclamation was still on the books and it was law, the federal troops were not in the South enforcing it. And that compromise that they made, giving the concessions to the Democratic Party, that was called or dubbed the Great Betrayal of the Negro. They call it the Great Compromise in American history. But they don't tell you how it ill affected black people, because once they removed those federal troops, all of those little towns we had established and were moving past white people in productivity, they looted them. Yes, that's what they did. And the same thing is happening in 2024. Let me get to it. All right? So, and then, of course, we got to, before I get there, I skipped over the 13th Amendment. Because the 13th Amendment stated that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party has or party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. So when you look at the crack epidemic and all of the social engineering that has been happening and still going on in 2024 to mass incarcerate black men in particular, then you see how slavery still exists. Go and get a book by a sister by the name of Michelle Alexander entitled The New Jim Crow. So again, should black people be celebrating and dubbing Juneteenth as Freedom Day? I think it's romanticizing the holiday. Thank you, Mr. Biden, for the holiday. You know, and just like the slave master, he takes umbrage at, Negro, you won't accept the holiday I've give you? Well, you talking about giving us something to commemorate, like I just said. Give all those millions of acres of land back that have been stolen from black people. Literally stolen. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us a fit meaning for what a slave is that applies in 2024. It's one of the axioms we use, and we didn't use it today, but I think it's fitting to mention it here. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan said, a slave is one whose power and authority is ruled over by another and whose sphere of freedom is limited according to the wishes of his master. Well, nobody limit my freedom. I go where I want, when I want, do. Yeah, like a fish in a fish tank. Long as you stay in the tank, you good. America's 2,000 by 3,000 miles. And there are some areas in the tank that is not advisable to go. You know, in the fish tank, you got regular fish, and there's a fish called an Oscar. And if the regular fish get too close to the Oscars, they'll get ate. And there are places in America that, for black folk, you got to be careful going into these places, especially in Mississippi. Does Rasheem Carter ring a bell? That was just a couple of years ago. Found their young brother's remains. There are people in 2024 that still have the attitudes of pre-Emancipation Proclamation. Yes, it exists. So you can stick your head in the sand all you want, but that's not going to make it go away. But let's get up to 2024. Did you know, as we begin to close, we may go over a little bit, a few minutes. Recently, in 2023, just last year, April of last year, did you know that the NAACP had to file a lawsuit in response to the passage of some unconstitutional legislation in Mississippi? What was that legislation? Did you know that the first statute, or I should say the statute, one of the statutes that they were trying to pass in the state Senate, and it was signed by Governor Tate Reeves. The Senate bill was bill number 2343. And on Friday, April 21st, 2023, that bill significantly it was supposed to significantly expand the Capitol Complex Improvement District to bring the entire predominantly black city of Jackson, Mississippi, under the control of the state-run Capitol Police. So the police that was supposed to police Jackson, they passed a Senate bill to bring that predominantly black area under the control of Capitol Police. And the bill was also, they said it would also significantly restrict Mississippi's residents' ability to protest and hold demonstrations in and around buildings considered property of the state, requiring written approval from the chief of the Capitol Police or the commissioner of the Department of Public Safety before any event occurs. That was one of the bills they tried to pass. The second bill was House Bill. They had a Senate bill and a House bill. House Bill 1020. It created a new court with an unelected judge. I said unelected, meaning he would be selected. It would create a new court by an unelected judge appointed by the Mississippi Supreme Court, which will have the ability to hear and determine all preliminary matters and criminal matters within the district. The bill also continues a court packing plan by appointing unelected circuit judges to the 7th Circuit District Court in Hinds County. So all of the votes that the people cast to vote the public officials into office, they were passing Senate bills in Mississippi State Legislature to just get rid of that. A slave is one whose power and authority is ruled over by another, and whose sphere of freedom is limited according to the wishes of his master. So that's just one of a lot of the stuff that's going on down in the Delta. So, brothers and sisters, as we engage in the festivities that have been happening all week with Juneteenth, don't get it twisted. Don't get caught up in the hype and the illusion of inclusion. Yes. Most of us, somebody's writing on the comment panel, my brother William, he said, most of us refuse to take advantage of the modern technology. We have the means to research history in the palm of our hand. That's the cell phone. As a matter of fact, there's a hadith that speaks to that our brother Imam Sultan Rahman Muhammad alluded to in his visit to Memphis this past weekend, where he talked about a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, peace be upon him, where it says something to the effect that the people would receive information in their pocket. Ain't that interesting? And on their heads. That's mentioning a headphones and a smartphone that you put in your pocket. There are many other things that we can point to scripturally or prophetically. I always find it interesting that there are some among our people that don't seem to think that Prophet Muhammad was even a prophet. And they ask the silly question, in my estimation, and an uninformed question. I won't use the word silly. I retract that. The uninformed question of, show me a prophecy where he prophesied if he's a prophet. Well, they don't only prophesy, which he did, but they bring divine revelation and warning that heretofore was unknown before the advent of that servant of God. Brothers and sisters, we are right at the end of tonight's program. We're going to get you a cultural segment in here. We got to get a little culture. You know, we got to, have a little culture for the people. So tonight, I want to bring my brother West Coast Cam back to the program. And he has a song entitled, and I know there's a brother listening right now that can relate to the title of this song. It's entitled, It's On Us.
America can change, but attitudes change slowly. There's something that we, as black people, must do to affect that kind of change. But if our people are jobless and in gangs and are the #1 killers of themselves, then how can anyone looking at that picture see us as their equal? So there's an awful lot of work for black leaders, black preachers, black teachers, black organizations to do to lift our people up out of the quagmire that they are in. And that is not on Barack Obama. He has the cross of America to bear, but the raising of our people is still our job to do.
Man, you can tell by the news, we gon' always lose. It's white people's fault. Nah, better yet, Jews. I was a confused and abused child. Mama made my views foul. Damn, Obama, what excuses I'ma use now? My pops wasn't there. Nah, I can't use that. Now they can trace my dirt all the way back to where I choose at. Who's that? Peeking in my window, bro. Damn, the whole wide world, I can't pretend no more that I'm just a lost sheep who don't give a 4-letter. Now the cost deep, I gotta reap what I sow because I know better. Can't never put that genie back in the bottle, cause now we got a real life black family role model sitting in that house that slavery built. Shit might've gave y'all hope, but it gave me guilt. And I bet you a black neighborhood thug feel the same thing. They pulling the plug on the blame game. It's on us now.
We must accept responsibility to build our community. We don't have a community right now. And so we must build a community and get away from calling where we live the hood or the ghetto and save our youth from self-destruction.
If that pig don't get you, best believe that bald eagle will. I'm telling you, my nigga, better learn y'all illegal skill, cause they finna kill every other way of eating. This Satan world, homie, ain't no beating them at cheating. You can't out devil the devil and think it ain't sin. That's a flame at the end of a game that you can't win. Trying to fight evil with evil on any item. Now if you know they wrong, then you gotta outright them. That's the only way you gon' make it today, cause everything else, Satan can take it away. Don't even worry about revenge or making them pay. They gon' get dead. Just make sure you stay awake and obey your highest authority. Shit, I don't even ask about a liar. I'm too busy trying to keep my ass out the fire. Niggas better clean their act up and get sober, cause now he holding us responsible. Grace is over, it's on us now.
It's a wonderful event, Minister Farrakhan. What is it gonna mean to African Americans?
When we look at Barack and Michelle and Sasha and Malia, to see a loving husband, a loving wife, a loving father, a loving mother, and 2 beautiful children, what a beautiful example they set, not only for us, but for America.
You ain't got to be no criminal, empty in a clip. You ain't gotta be no video hoe. You ain't gotta strip. You ain't gotta be no athlete to keep it real. You ain't gotta entertain. You ain't gotta have no sneaker deal. You ain't gotta dumb it down. You ain't gotta go soft. You ain't gotta sleep around and take your clothes off. You ain't gotta call her bitch. You ain't gotta like the world. You ain't gotta get rich and go get you a white girl. Times is changing right in front of our eyes. Possibilities and heights that our people can rise till we can see ourselves ruling the world again. Resurrecting the heaven from a world of sin. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. From every child in school to every G in the pen. Don't get me wrong, I know this enemy's still here, but let me make this real clear. That responsibility is on us now.
Yes, indeed. That was our brother West Coast Cam. It's on us now. And it really, really is, brothers and sisters. We want to thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. We're about 5 minutes over schedule, but hey, Hopefully it was well worth it. We are prayerful to our Almighty God Allah that something was said to benefit you in your spiritual growth and development and to serve as guidance in these troubling times. Always remember, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us these words, and this is instructive to those of us who struggle to do anything good. He said, quote, "No one can attempt to help our people do anything productive and constructive without feeling personal hurt, pain, loss, being evil spoken of, falsely accused, sometimes beaten, sent to prison, or even put to death. This is the path of Jesus. This is the path of Muhammad. This is the path of every sincere person who wants to see his or her people delivered from our present condition." Please remember, brothers and sisters, subscribe to the Final Call newspaper. Go to finalcall.com or give us a call at 662-252-8999. Make sure you download Final Call Radio to your smartphone and listen to messages from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, available 24/7. Make sure you support those who support us. Come by 165 North Memphis Street and get you some of that scrumptious supreme bean pie for a donation, charitable donation, to help buttress and support our ministry there in Holly Springs, Mississippi. We also have available for your donations those 2-pound bags of whiting fish. Come by and visit us, and if it be the will of Almighty God, brothers and sisters, always remember this, that self-improvement is the basis for community development. God willing, we'll see you next week, and until then, assalamu alaikum.
Deep in the delta where the willows grow, in the soil stained by the blood of my ancestors, punch bowl voices call out to my soul for justice. The wicked will reap what they've sown. Spirit of Aziz is back on the rise. Soldiers in the delta kept it alive. Time to stand up, take our place in the sun. Understand the time and what must be done.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip.
Gotta make a move and take control. Have something we can call our own. So shine your light, help the people see that now is the time for us to be free. And if you waiting on the pie in the sky, you better wake up fast. They told you a lie, cause big fields await the wide awake man. Elijah's got the message.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip. Injustice, we've had enough. All of our divisions we're breaking up. Destiny has been calling us. The spirit of the Most High is guiding us.
See, the time is now. What you waiting on? Quit shooting your brothers. Put your gun down. Come on. They got a cage waiting for you if you keep that up. Early graves coming to you. From that, can't raise you up. Now, Sister Ida B and Fannie Lou, check them out and you'll know what to do. But if you really want your enemy to be alarmed, read the Final Call. Follow Farrakhan.
10,000 fearless on the move. 10K fearless. Mississippi. 10K fearless on the move. Mississippi. Sip.